So, John, a lot of acronyms in our business, and let's talk about a few of the industry ones. So, what the heck is RAE?
So RAE is the short form for Realtors Association of Edmonton, formerly EREB or Edmonton Real Estate Board. A lot of people still call it the board for that word. Yeah, and so the main functions that RAE does and the board does for us in Edmonton here is deal with the MLS system. So they provide us with the services, maintain all the data of all the listings, and that pushes out to various websites, up to realtor.ca, remax.ca, and other office and individual agent websites. They also have professional standards. So if there is complaints at the local level between agents, some on the consumer complaint side, but that's more RECA. But if there's professional conduct between agents, they have a volunteer committee of our peers that kind of judge and jury, as it were, to deal with those situations. And then they have a political actions committee and a bunch of other work they do kind of locally just to, represent us as an industry as a whole in the greater Edmonton area.
So agents will interact with RAE out of all the ones we're going to talk about today, the most probably, right? They're their first level.
It's the day-to-day. They deal with the key box system that we access for listings. They deal with all the local stuff that affects most agents day-to-day.
Yeah, you said RECA. What is a RECA?
Yeah, so
Eureka.
RECA is the licensing body, right? So they are who is actually set up, and RECA's mandate
Stands for what?
RECA stands for Real Estate Council of Alberta. So there's a similar council in every other province in the country, and states in the U.S. And they are there to protect consumers. So RECA is there to enforce the Real Estate Act, and their kind of accountability is to Service Alberta or the government of Alberta. So when you vote for your provincial representative, they are who oversee the Service Alberta and oversee RECA. So we had some changes in the last 2 years in that front because they felt that they weren't, abiding by their mandate. So RECA has now lost education into 2022. That'll be taken over by REA, kind of going back to the way it was when you and I got our licenses. It was done through REA. And so RECA deals with consumer complaints about potential issues in the industry, advertising complaints, anything kind of against realtors. So they're the least liked, I would say, probably, just because they're sort of like the police of our industry.
Yeah, that's where you go to realtor jail, right? When
Exactly.
RECA's.
Yeah.
Perfect. And so you mentioned area. So what's an area?
Yeah, so the difference of, it stands for Alberta Real Estate Association. And so they are like an advocacy. So they represent us as members. We pay into all these associations, but REA is there to be an advocate for our industry. So they're kind of on our side versus RECA per se, but they work collaboratively together just to make our industry better for members and for the public. So they now deal with education. They deal with all the forms, so they create all the contract forms that we use, and they have lawyers that work with case law. So when they make contract updates, it's because there was a court case, and that's the way civil law works in most countries, that now they have this new precedent that they interpreted a term a certain way, and so they'll make changes to the contracts to reflect that, to protect industry members and buyers and sellers and the public alike.
Perfect. And then the last one we're going to talk about is CREA.
Yeah, so CREA stands for the Canadian Real Estate Association. And so the main two things that CREA does is they own the trademark for Realtor in Canada and Realtor.ca, or formerly MLS.ca in our time too. And so they manage like the public-facing services provided by our industry nationwide. And so the biggest benefit we have in Canada is that CREA has done an exceptional job of managing that, where in the US, Realtor.com is like, maybe you're lucky in the top 10 of websites, and there's a bunch of other private companies that are outrank it. Realtor.ca is the most viewed website in Canada by the public, has all of the listings pretty much, like 98% of it, probably 99%. And Remax.ca is number 2 in all of Canada.
Good plug.
But yeah, exactly. You got to play it a little bit. And so, so CREA does that stuff. And then they're our main advocacy to government at the federal level. So we have various representatives from each board that volunteer, and they all go to various meetings and summits and gather industry information. So, housing policy changes, lending changes, that's where our advocacy is for our industry, talking about things that affect us and our clients, and trying to have the federal government listen as best as we can.
Great. Yeah, often they all get fogged in together, and so I think it's nice to have a little bit of clarity and insight on.
Yeah,
appreciate that.
On all the acronyms.
Thank you, buddy.